to listen to the Lapped Traffic Podcast.
What is up, Lap Traffic Nation? Welcome to episode 256 of the Lap Traffic Podcast. I'm your host, the Professor Brandon Crowd. Hope you all had a fantastic Labor Day weekend. Tell you, the weather up here in Metro Detroit was flawless, absolutely perfect. And you're not going to believe this. It was perfect weather, and I did not get in any golf, but hopefully that'll be changing this weekend. Yes. Well, we are one race into the Cup playoffs, and boy, did things get interesting. Can't wait to talk about that a little bit later in the show. But before I do, don't forget to go roast the competition. Be the first to the finish line with 5 Lakes Angry Brew. Angry Brew is a massively caffeinated, amazing tasting, high-octane power pack fuel that will get you to the finish line all day, every day. When you need a power-up, reach for Angry Brew, coffee with a punch. And don't forget to go use code LAPPED, that's L-A-P-P-E-D, at checkout. Get 10% off your order. And speaking of Angry Brew, I still have some stuff to give away. Things have just been so crazy. You guys know that I got a new job, then I got another new job at the old company I was at, and things have just been intense and busy, and there's some more things coming down the pipe that I'm excited to share with you guys over the next couple weeks. And all good things, all busy things, and we'll go from there. But anyways, this weekend, I tell you what, it was nice. Not a thing scheduled, not a thing booked. A couple of things booked, but fun things like Friday night, hosted a live fantasy football draft for one of my buddies that I've been in his league for close to, I think 8 years I've been in this league because, funny story. So Lindsay and my 10-year wedding anniversary is in a couple weeks, September 24th. And while we were on our honeymoon in Aruba, we're at the swim up bar, and this is back when the Detroit Tigers played meaningful September baseball. And so there was some meaningful September baseball going on, and I heard a guy talking about the Tigers, and he had a Detroit Tigers hat on. I had a Detroit Tigers hat on, so we started talking. Him and his wife got married the day before us, and lo and behold, they lived like 10 minutes away from us. So we have been friends with them ever since, which is awesome. So we always celebrate our anniversaries together. Looking forward to doing that again this year. And so I say all that to say, so it was that fantasy football draft, 10 guys having a good time, shooting the shit and drafting in person and just, razzing on every pick for everything, and had a great time Friday night. Saturday, smoked one of the best meatloafs I've ever made, watched the Michigan game, and of course, Michigan had to go do Michigan things and have their best wide receiver get injured and out for the year. I'll get into that a little bit later with Brian Neudorff. Sunday, smoked a chicken, went to a peach festival, watched the race, and then Monday smoked brisket. So the Traeger got a workout this weekend, which was awesome. Hung out, relaxed, all good things. So there's that. Hope you guys enjoyed last week's show with Tyler Ankrum. And it's been a minute since Dustin Albino has been on. I am going to reach out to him. He doesn't even know this yet. So I'm going to reach out to him to see if he's going to be available next week for a J-Ski show, as I believe he's going to Richmond. So I think that'll be awesome to get him on after that. Tonight, guys, I'm so sorry. CJ Wolliver was scheduled to be on the show. Unfortunately, last minute, some things popped up for him that he is not able to be on. So unfortunately, you're getting me tonight. So I hope that's enough to keep you listening. I'll talk about some trucks, Xfinity and Cup from Darlington. So much to talk about. Quick social media. Neudorff and I are going to talk opening college football and have see what's going on for this weekend at Richmond. Lucky Dog Lampdown picks, and of course some Lap Traffic fantasy playoffs. So without further ado, I am going to get things rolling and let's talk about this weekend. So we'll start with the trucks as usual. However, they race second this weekend instead of first, which is always cool. I love when they shake that up a little bit. When you look at the truck standings, to me, they're a little weird based on points where they're seated. Obviously you got John Hunter, Sheldon Creed on a hot streak. But I would say it's open for grabs to whomever wants to step up these last 5 races before we get to the 6th and final race at Phoenix. You've got, John Hunter and, like I said, Sheldon Creed, but, Matt Crafton, Stuart Friesen, Ben Rhodes, Todd Gill, all of these guys, 15 points between 7th and 10th, so it could be really anybody's game who misses the cut. Throw in the fact that we're going to Bristol, which can always be, an interesting race from a truck series perspective, a little more short track, beating and banging them kind of thing. But, just the fact that you had the class of the field, Sheldon Creed and John Hunter, finish 1-2, both won a stage, both top 5 in the other stage. They are putting on the clinic out there right now. And like I said, it's up to 2 other guys to decide who wants to step up to the plate, play with the big boys, and try to make their way to the Final Four. Got a couple more off weeks, shorter playoff, or, a more condensed playoff field, which I love. I personally still think the trucks is too big, but I digress, So when I look at that, I think it's you look at KBM Motorsports, who has struggled, when Kyle Busch isn't in one of the trucks, right? How many years did they not even make the playoffs in the truck series? So they have obviously struck gold with John Hunter Nemechek. John Hunter, much like, Kyle Larson, odds-on favorite. Anything still can happen, as we've seen in years past, but Matt Crafton, 2019 wins the Truck Series championship without even winning a race. Last year, Kevin Harvick, obviously dominated the season with 9 wins, doesn't even make the Final Four. So all of these caveats can come into play, but obviously, there's something to be said here about what John Hunter has done in this truck. Something to be said about what Sheldon Creed has done. Number of races, limited or no sponsorship on that truck, which just baffles me that we've got the defending champion that can't catch full sponsorship. And you might recall earlier in the year, him and Marcus Lemonis got into it on Twitter a little bit in terms of, the 2 truck not wanting to, take just anything thrown at them and undervalue what the truck sponsorship is worth, So kudos to being able to maintain, be competitive, do all the things that we expect out of that truck and GMS. So I think that's awesome. When I look at a couple disappointments, though, you can't not look at Ben Rhodes, a rough outing this past weekend. Outside of winning the first 2 races of the year, he may not even be in the truck championship. I don't remember where he was seated points-wise going into the last race before the playoffs. But, just some horrible performances there, And that's just kind of been Thor the last couple years. Like they might have a couple breakthrough races, but man, they just seem to be on the outside looking in more times than not, which is a bummer. I love that organization. And I really hope they're able to turn things around, going into 2022. So there's another thing that's disappointing is, last week's guest, Tyler Ankrum, just felt like they were on the brink so many times, and to miss out. That's another organization that I hope can recover and find a playoff spot next year and really start to see and get to victory lane a couple more times. Austin Hill, 2 wins, won the last 2 regular season races, down there on the bottom, on the verge of the cut line. He's only 5 points to the good. Anything can happen at Bristol. One more bad race and he's going to find himself in a must-win situation. Or no, actually, Bristol is the last race, right? We've had 2 truck playoff races. See, I forgot when they're so spaced out. Watkins Glen was their first playoff race. So here we are on the verge of the end of round 1, and boom, things can really get dicey here, So we'll see what happens here as we get to Bristol. But unfortunately, we got an off week for those guys. So moving over to the Xfinity Series, I feel like this is the first race weekend for these guys where we aren't talking about calling in some winning fashion, whether it's winning the Xfinity race, winning the Cup race. These guys have just been on a tear, and they didn't have a horrible outing, but, not the best outing this past weekend at Darlington. That said, Noah Gragson picks up his first win with 2 races to go before the playoffs. Kind of put a little staple on things. I love that. Knowing that we have 2 more races before the playoffs start for the Xfinity Series, I think the points gap has kind of stretched itself out way beyond catching up. When you look at Myatt Snyder in 12th with 546, Michael Annett with 509, 37 points. I mean, that's basically a full race of catch up there, which is not easy to make up in 2 races, 1 races, whatever the case may be. So we may have our playoff field set in the Xfinity Series unless someone like a Michael Annett, Ryan Sieg, or Brandon Brown can go out and steal one at Richmond or Bristol. I don't think it would happen this weekend at Richmond. I think if anything were to happen, it would be at Bristol, which would be amazing. I would love to see that. I've gone on record years past very critical of how the Xfinity Series would shape up, but we were at spots like this with 2 races to go, with 6 and 7 races to go. So obviously the gap has been closed quite a bit in the Xfinity Series, and if we were able to throw in the mix Ty Gibbs and Josh Berry, that would make things even more exciting in terms of, guys being outside the cut line and all that. So the Xfinity Series has put on an incredible product through these 24 races. Normally we're talking about how exciting the Truck Series is. Truck Series has been great, but the Xfinity Series has really, really delivered this year on a much more consistent basis, I feel, which is fantastic in my opinion. All right, let's talk about Sunday night. Man, what a great race. This thing had everything from drama to playoff drivers wrecking, great racing. It's funny, ain't it? When you give these guys a little more horsepower, races become a little bit more exciting, don't they? We had 7 playoff drivers finishing 20th or worse: Chase Elliott, William Byron, Kyle Busch. You had everything in this race. You had multiple leaders. You had multiple leaders for a consistent amount of time. You did have a dominant group of cars. Denny Hamlin obviously leading 146 laps, Kyle Larson 156, but you had a close race with that. To have that type of a finish coming out of turn 4 on the last lap. There's one more lap to that race. It's a different story. I'm glad a caution didn't impact things there. I'm glad it was the way it was in terms of being able to finish and to show that these guys could catch the leader and, give them a run for the money, which was great. Denny Hamlin obviously picking up his first win of the season, long overdue from that regard. When you look at how consistent he was, what he did last year, still waiting on Kevin Harvick to get his. I digress. But, I think it's incredible what Ross Chastain's done. He's had some great top 5 finishes this year. Yes, he's had some issues, some top 25s and worst. But, for his first year in this 42 car to be doing what he's doing, I think is fantastic. I think you got to look at what we've got going on here from a playoff perspective. And I'll use Kevin Harvick as an example here. Going into the race, seated last is now in 7th. And he's only 7 points outside of the fourth. Do I think he's going to make it to the Final Four? No, but I definitely think he's going to get a little further than expected. Is he going to go winless? Something he hasn't done since his stretch after winning the Daytona 500 in 2007. He didn't win again until April 2010. Do I see him going winless? I'd like to hope not, because that's one hell of a stretch to go from 2010. Here we are, 2021, and having wins 10 years in a row. I'd like that to continue for sure. I honestly didn't have him getting into the top 8. I barely had him getting into the next round. So from that regard, now he's looking pretty good. All he's got to do is go out there, be consistent at Richmond and Bristol, which are 2 tracks he's done very well at in the past, then things get a little bit more interesting, So, and it's so close when you look at Kyle Busch, 2024, Alex Bowman, 2026, Tyler Riddick, 2026, Eric Almirola, 2029. There's going to be battles, for this cut line when it comes time to reseeding this thing in 2 weeks. So I think we're set up for some exciting racing. It's not going to be runaways in terms of points and all that. And when you look at the fact that you win and you're in the next round, it's just going to get so intense, and I love it. All right. One last thing that I want to talk about, and that's Kyle Busch and the situation that involved him at the mid to end way of the race. Just came out a little bit ago that he was fined for his actions in terms of how he got back to the garage area. And I'll say this, did he drive aggressively to the garage area? Absolutely he did. I don't think anybody would argue with that. Is he justified in driving angry back to the garage area? We all know how Kyle Busch is, and he's emotional and he's passionate, and he was pissed off, as we all could tell from his, interview as he got out of the infield care center. And I got no issue with any of that other than how he drove through the entrance into the garage area. I know a lot of the drivers, I think, probably get a little annoyed with the fans, pre-COVID being back there, especially during those types of situations during practice, hounding for autographs and all that. And hey, I was guilty of that back in the day myself. I will admit that. And doing the podcast and seeing this thing and the sport from a different perspective, really shed some light on that aspect of things. And, and those were crew guys. Those were guys that had a legit reason being back there, and it came really, really close. Like, be pissed off. I get it. But, and that's the thing, just so full of, his blood pressure was probably 200, and he was just angry and just not thinking clearly, because I don't think he obviously would want to have intentionally hurt anybody or anything like that. I don't think anybody would say that. Just pissed off at the world at that point in time and just wanted to get out of that car and just be done with it. And, so like I said, slap on the wrist for him from a, how that's going to hurt his wallet. But, just to put, I think what it does is it just kind of reiterates the safety side of things. I'm glad there wasn't any type of points penalty or anything like that. And I'm glad he wasn't fined for expressing himself with a few shit bombs dropped on TV. I think we could all be past that. Like, if you're offended by that, hey, it's passion. It wasn't that harsh of a word, in my opinion. I'm glad there weren't any penalties for that as well. And I will say, I thought he actually, not that it matters what I say, right? None of this does, but, I think he really conducted himself pretty well in that interview. Like, he responded. He said it wasn't, the three's fault. It was, they're bringing crap cars to the track and, all of that. He actually had a pretty decent response and interview there, which was crazy. So I loved it. I loved everything about what we got on Sunday night. Like I said, when I started talking about the Cup, was we got drama, we got playoff drivers that, we didn't expect to be in the position where they're at now going into Richmond this weekend. So I think it's going to be fantastic. Another Saturday night race, which is going to be great. So, all right. That's what I got for you guys there. Let's do a little Lap Traffic social media. Everybody, make sure you check out the website, thelaptrafficpodcast.com, Facebook, The Lap Traffic Podcast, YouTube, Lap Traffic Podcast, TikTok, Twitch, Instagram, and Twitter, all at Lap Traffic PC. Feel free to leave a review on whatever podcast platform you're listening to if you've made it this far into the show. We got some new followers. Mitch Abides at Mitch Abides, proud American from Las Vegas, and Toledo Tornado at Toledo Tornado 57, Starcoms esports driver. Welcome to the show, guys. Tell your friends. Don't forget about stickers and koozies If you want a koozie for free, all you have to do is go to the website, thelaptrafficpodcast.com, fill out the contact page, and I will send them to you for free. And I am going to look to get a giveaway going on here soon because it has been, I felt like I flooded you guys with giveaways for so long that I needed to take a break. So we'll get another one going out here later this week and give it away on next week's show. I think that sounds like a good idea. All right. Let's keep things rolling. Let's get Mr. Brian Neudorff on the line. All right, Lap Traffic Nation, joining me on the line. You can follow him on Twitter at NASCAR_WXMAN, along with Aaron Studwell at Race Weather. Welcome back to the show, Mr. Brian Neudorff. Sir, good evening. How are you?
Good. It's going to be sunny. Thanks for the segment. How
was your Labor Day weekend, sir?
Overall, it was good, except for, so we did go to the Purdue game, and I'm going to be honest. I mean, you and I have had, if only people can understand the conversations you and I have had about the pandemic, we won't go into details. I'm smiling when I say this, yes. But so you can hate on me all you want. I'm a big believer in masks and stuff like that. And I wore one when I wasn't talking to people or trying to, most drinking some water or something like that. So I wore it at the game.
Sure.
Yeah, I was that guy. I don't care. Hey. I don't make any apologies. Right. I'm trying to do my part for others. Anyway. So, so you're looking around. I mean, it's, first of all, it was cool to be back, seeing a stadium. I want that. I want that like everybody else does. So, but then you're also like, man, that's a lot of people. So, but anyway, I mean, it was a good experience. My son, who doesn't even play an instrument, who didn't actually make the Purdue band, is part of the band, is like a manager, like sports teams have managers. Well, yeah, he's doing that.
He's band manager. I love it.
Yeah, but it was a lot of fun. But on the way up there, my one son's car breaks down on like the other side of the state near my hometown. So we have to cross over. So we're late getting to the game. And I feel bad for my son, and he's probably getting hosed on the repairs because it's in some small dinky town in South Central Indiana. So
that's crazy.
And it needs a new water pump. It overheated. It's a 1990. I mean, the car graduated. The car is older than it's older than I've been out of high school. So
I mean, well, if it's still running, I mean, you can't complain about a water pump at that point in time. Like that.
No, not at all.
That's pretty good, actually.
It's not quite to 200,000 miles, I think.
Okay. All right. Well, hey, it sounds like it might get there.
Yeah.
All right. Purdue 30, Oregon State 21. Looked a little dicey there in the fourth quarter for you guys.
Yes. I mean, yeah, it did. But you know what? A victory is a victory, and
yes.
It's one of the first home opener wins for Purdue in a long time. So we'll take it. I mean, I think there's some rust, but yeah. And I mean, the Oregon State put in a new quarterback, and that gave them a little bit of spark there down the stretch. Like anything, we've all got to figure out what we're doing. I mean, I could be IU and misspelling our jersey and then losing. So
that's, that just doesn't look good. Like, that's like, did they get that, from.
And they're a liberal arts school.
Yeah. That just reminded me of like those jerseys that you could order for college and pro, like from China, that you had to send like a Western Union for. They would send them back to you. Like it was, they were like the knockoffs that came back misspelled and stuff like that. Oh, that's funny.
Maybe that was it. Okay. And then there was, you'll have to look it up. It's like Indiana University student and Achilles on Wheel of Fortune. It was even people found some stuff deep in the web to make fun of this whole thing. As a Purdue guy, I was excited. Of course, I have a son who goes to IU now, and I'm actually going to the IU Idaho game this weekend.
That's funny.
And I mean, I'm not even a Vandals fan, but I did live in this state, and their colors are black and gold, and I've got a goldish Idaho shirt. I might just wear that because I'm going to be that guy. Okay. I mean, seriously, could you go to Ohio State, and even if you had a kid and they went to Ohio State, could you honestly cheer for them?
No, I'd have a hard time. I'd have a hard time. Like my my uncle, his one daughter. I mean, my uncle, diehard Maize and Blue, and his daughter went to MSU. And, he had a hard time putting on the green and white. So, yeah, I mean, I'd have a hard time with that.
I always joked with my son that if he really got into IU and, like, joined the band or did something that, okay, fine, I would wear stuff, but my Purdue stuff would be underneath it so that it would never actually have to touch my skin.
I love it. All right, so I want your take on this because before we hit the record button, you weren't aware of what happened. So Michigan, right? Harbaugh's back for his 7th year. That's under criticism and all that kind of stuff. And here they are playing Western Michigan. They're up, and they put their number 1 best offensive player, Ronnie Bell, on special teams for receiving. And he's out for the year with an injury. Like, I just don't understand. Like, I get maybe if it's like, the Ohio State game, whatever. Like, I just don't understand why you would risk putting a number 1, number 2 receiver on special teams for receiving so early in the season, and boom, now he's done.
My raw reaction is, well, I'm not surprised.
Right? It's just,
I'm not surprised.
It screams
I feel like
Jim Harbaugh move, doesn't it?
I feel like this has happened before.
Yeah.
I feel like this has happened before with Michigan, where, I mean, granted, I think sadly you were playing Purdue at one point, and one of your best players went out too. So maybe 2017. I don't know.
I mean, like, at this point, nothing surprises me.
No. But you're right. If you're killing Western Michigan, like I saw the score, and you're near the end, and you put out one of your best players on kicking route, I mean, I don't know. I don't know. Yeah. I don't know. I mean, he's not doing himself any favors, yet the guy's still employed. And you want to talk about, I work in the profession where they say, oh, it must be nice to be wrong all the time and get paid. Right. I think Harbaugh actually embodies that.
That's a good point. I love that. That's true. All right. NASCAR. How about Richmond this weekend?
You didn't catch the first part of the segment,
I did.
What we're not going to talk about. I did listen to parts of the race when I was driving, I mean, I didn't catch much bits and pieces. Like Larson was the dominant, and then when I finally got home and didn't see it at the end because I was trying to get things. I mean, I drove across the state of Indiana on Sunday, and I had to get up early, so I didn't see much of the end of the race. And then I saw that Hamlin won.
Yeah. And
I'm like, oh, okay. And then it sounded like there were very few cars on the lead lap at really any given time, unless they took the
wave around.
Yeah,
yep.
That. So, I mean, was it competitive? I mean, I have to ask, because the few times I listened in, there was only like 4 or 5 cars on the lead lap.
I tell you what, between everything that happened, especially from a playoff driver perspective, we had 7 playoff drivers finish outside the top 20. It was competitive, so it was everything you would want from Darlington and more, because now it was a Darlington playoff race. Like, I thought it was one of the better races I've seen in a few years. They gave them more horsepower and they were running and they used it, and some of them didn't make it. And so from that, I thought it was great. You had different leaders, it wasn't just one guy, you were able to make passes in dirty air, even at the front of the field, to a degree. So no, I thought it was incredible, to be honest with you.
I feel like I should give you an exclusive, because I haven't actually. I said I was going to say this on Twitter, and then I never said why I haven't been posting much on Twitter. You know the reason, yes. But I don't want to keep you, because I got to go someplace, and you've got another phone call coming up here in a few minutes. For those of you who may be listening, and I do apologize, I guess part of it is my new job. Most of the people who listen to you and follow me on Twitter know, and I mean, both Aaron and I have had huge transitions from when we started doing this podcast with you. In the last 2 years, I left Idaho. I came out to Southern Indiana, Louisville metro area. And it's because I joined the weather service. So, I left television. And, but leaving television, also I lost a certain amount of freedom when it comes to my own personal endeavors. So, what I had built with NASCAR Weatherman, I really couldn't capitalize on it anymore. That just was part of the territory. I wasn't able to, financially benefit from it. So that was a hit. And then the time, I'm a shift worker now. I don't have the same, set time to able to update all the time. And sometimes I'm working on a weekend or I'm sleeping or something like that. So, all of those things cut into it. And there's other things that I'm not quite sure I'm ready to divulge on that. But generally, I've just kind of lost connection with the sport, connection with what I'm doing. I mean, Aaron deserves so much. And I thank you for the fact that you still have me on. I'm like the bare minimum here when it comes to NASCAR weather. I do keep an eye on it, and especially if there's bad weather when we had Daytona and stuff like that. I mean, we got a lot of crap for Daytona, but I mean, it's Daytona. Yeah. We didn't dodge them
in September, mind you.
Well, anytime, pretty much from February on. Yeah. The big thing about Daytona, and we got a lot of crap for it, but and I got crap when I said like we had a 60% or like 55 or something. It was better than average. But I was concerned that we would see the same situation we saw Saturday when we had Daytona. And really the truth was, the biggest thing that we had to, keep in mind, storms or showers, not storms, but showers came within like 6 miles of the track that entire day when they got the race in. So, the difference between racing and delays was 6 miles.
Yeah, that's
nothing. I don't think people realize that's kind of, we're forecasting for a point. It's a fairly large square mile area, but it's not a city. As well as I do, it can rain on like the track. It can rain on one part of the track and not the other. So, that's tough. And we got a lot of crud for it at times. I took it in stride. And honestly, it's not people and it's not the apps and stuff that have kept me from posting. It's just life. So I'll be honest about that.
Life happens. It's it's funny. You, Aaron, and myself have all had recent, things that pay the bills changes over the recent past here. So it's been some adapting when you're used to one groove and you got to get into a new groove. It's it can throw things for a loop. That's for sure.
Plus TV, real quick, because it's gonna be about ready. It's about to get really loud in here because my wife's home and the dogs are about to go shit crazy. But the one thing I will say is also being in television, I had to be constantly plugged into social media, so it wasn't like a stretch to make an update here and there.
Sure.
Now that I haven't had to do it for 2 years, it's almost like, why do I want to do that? So it does get a little tougher. And my family comes first. My kids are in college, and the last 2 years I was taking advantage of those last few shreds of like kids being around and kids being home before they all, flew out of the nest and stuff like that.
Yeah, no, 100%.
All right, sir. Listen, everybody. Yes, I'll do your part so you can wrap this up. Number one, again, great looking forecast. We didn't cover it, but weather looks nice, warm during the day. Friday, Saturday. I don't think they're racing Sunday. These are the typical Friday night, Saturday night. Am I correct?
Yes, sir.
Oh, no, they're doing Sunday. No, they're doing Saturday.
Yes,
so there's that.
Yep.
And you can follow me and myself and Aaron. You can follow me at NASCAR_WXMAN, or also the outstanding water carrying NASCAR weather guru, Aaron Studwell, at Race Weather. And also go to raceweather.net. While I can't benefit from NASCAR weather, he can. And so he deserves it. And he's been carrying my butt the last 2 years across the finish line. So there you go.
Beautiful. I love it. I don't got to say anything else. We'll catch you in a couple weeks.
Sounds like a plan.
All right, Matt. We'll see ya. All right. Great to catch up with Brian there. Look forward to catching him in a couple weeks. All right. Let's get to this week's Lucky Dog and Lampdown picks. You guys know the drill. After race weekend, tweet your picks, and I'll read them on the show. Tag you guys in some social media, all that good stuff. My Lucky Dog of the race weekend I'm going to homer out on this one is Kevin Harvick, just because he did not start off well with his seeding and is up to 7th. So Kevin Harvick's my lucky dog. My lap down is any playoff driver that finished 20th or worse this past weekend. You guys got yourself a little hole, much like I do in Lap Traffic Fantasy, but we'll get to that in just a minute. Let's get to your tweeted responses. Scott at 1985 Wagner's lucky dog. Denny Hamlin only took 27 races this season. Lap down a tie between Michael McDowell, William Byron, Kyle Busch, and Alex Bowman. Would those be some of the guys that finished outside the top 20? I think they might be. Let's see here. Brian at Storm B 81. Let's see. Lucky Dog. How about Corey LaJoie in that great run? Love to see it. Lap down. Countless mistakes by playoff drivers, but that should make things even more interesting. Absolutely. I think no doubt there. Jess at Iowa, NASCAR fan. Lucky Dog, Corey LaJoie, Ross Chastain, great runs. Lap down McDowell. Would have been a perfect race to make up ground if he could have stayed out of trouble. Rowdy at the Rowdy Dragon. Lucky Dog, Denny Hamlin punches his way to the next round. Lap down, dare I say it, Rick Ware Racing pulls off the deja vu. I love it. Yes. Colin at Colin _with_cars. Lucky Dog. Hard to choose, but I'm giving it to the Lady in Black for putting on a great show. Lap down is going to Hendrick Motorsports for ruining all 4 cars. Can't be mad at Larson there, though. That's why he's the GOAT. Matt at Camper News Net, Lucky Dog, Denny Hamlin getting his first win of the season at the right time. Additional lucky dog to Ross Chastain for a top 5 finish. Lap down, Kyle Busch for a rough start to the playoffs. So glad no one was hurt with Kyle speeding into the garage. And yeah, it did lead to a fine. That's for sure. Chris at USMC _NASCAR Fire. Lap down, Rick Ware Racing in general. And KFB and his sassy fit. Elliott and Bell got bubbed. Yeah, I love that. Lucky Dog, Corey LaJoie, Dodge and Disaster having a massive day. Chastain for one hell of a race. And Denny for getting the monkey off his back. Tristan at Tristan Cole, Lucky Dogs, Denny Hamlin, Ross Chastain, Corey LaJoie, Kyle Larson, and anyone who Kyle FB missed in his terrible drive to the pits. A lap down, Blaney, Rick Ware Racing, HMS drivers who crashed, and Michael McDowell. I'm seeing a trend here. And last but not least, WF Professor at Ryan _Hammond 3. Lucky Dog, the fans that got to see probably one of the best races in a long time. Lap down, the start of the playoffs for most of the playoff drivers. Many of them just could not catch a break. Hashtag for the cup. I am with you. All right. That is this week's Lucky Dog Lap Down picks. Let's wrap this thing up. All right, Lap Traffic Nation, let's close this thing out with a little Lap Traffic Fantasy. Week 1 of the LT Fantasy Playoffs is in the books. Just a reminder, if you're in the playoffs, get your picks in by Thursday. We got 9 race weekends to settle this thing out and see who's going to win. But right now, joining me on the line, he used to be the staple opener of the Waiver Round Hotline. It's Matt Camper. Matt, how are you, man?
I'm doing great, Brandon. How you doing?
I am good. Thanks so much for calling in here last minute. Unfortunately, our 2 week highs were not available, so I threw out the who is available email to the fantasy players. And Matt, thanks for calling in. And it's funny because you and I had the 2 worst scores this week. So we've got a hole to dig ourselves out of and only 2 weekends to do it.
Let's hope so. I mean, the luck of the draw is I'm really hoping this weekend's going to be better. Richmond, who knows? But, I remember the week after I picked Kurt Busch in Atlanta earlier this year. It was rock solid for me. So let's hope this week's better.
Excellent.
Just like it was after Atlanta.
What'd you think of Darlington this weekend?
I'm sorry?
What did you think of Darlington this past weekend?
Darlington, I'll definitely say this. As far as the Kyle Busch situation that happened, and this was in my Lucky Dog and Lap Down picks, I really am not surprised at all that Kyle Busch did get that fine. I'm glad everybody was okay in the end, but that could have been a horrible situation if it wasn't for everybody running out of the way,
Absolutely.
when they saw Kyle Busch.
Yeah.
As far as the racing is concerned, the end of the race was an incredible battle between, who was it, Denny Hamlin and
Kyle
I forget who the other driver,
and Ross Chastain.
And Ross Chastain and whoever the other second place driver was. But that was an incredible battle. Just Kyle Larson, that was the driver. That's right, Kyle Larson. And it felt like, and I've heard this from other places, it was like a video game into turn 4 for Kyle Larson, trying to get that win. It was just an unbelievable finish. I've never seen anything like that.
Yeah, we've had some finishes like that at the road courses. To get one like that at Darlington, sorry, because I was going to say Bristol, because we've had some like that at Bristol too. To get a finish like that at Darlington, to where it wasn't somebody that had pulled away, it was, you had two guys that were inching up on the leader. And trying to do a little bump and run type thing there. I thought it was fantastic. I really enjoyed that race. Perfect Labor Day weekend race. I loved every second of it.
I did too, and it was an incredible. And I'll say this weekend with the 20th anniversary of 9/11, having Richmond and Dale Earnhardt Jr. being in the Xfinity Series this weekend for his only race this year, I think it's going to make for an exciting Xfinity race, especially on Saturday afternoon. But with the Cup race Saturday night, I think it's just going to be a really exciting day of racing on Saturday.
You called it. I came close to even just picking Junior, because I need a miracle, and if he were to win, that would be a miracle. And I'm telling you, so I had Sheldon Creed, who did very well for me. Brandon Jones, who has done well at Darlington in the past, not so well. And then William Byron. I scored a whopping 63 points this week. Matt, you had, you had Harvick, Allgaier, and John Hunter, I believe.
No, I think I had Ben Rhodes.
Ben Rhodes. Oh, yeah, another struggle there. 87 points. So, yes, we are towards the bottom, as you will see here. I'll hit the standings here. In first place with 190 points is Henry Fletcher. Two-way tie for second with 169 between Glenn Atkins and Brad Carnes. We've got, three-way tie for second, add Charles LaPearl there. In third with 164 is Steven, DFS NASCAR guy. In fourth with 161 is Chad Robb. In fifth with 159 is Jeff Bevan. Two-way tie for sixth with 157 between John Entwistle and John King. In seventh with 156 is Jess Rose. In eighth with 154 is Joshua Neal. In ninth with 139 is Fred Leclerc. In 10th with 123 is Stephanie Borges. In 11th with 99 points is Michael from the Blind Spot Podcast. In 12th is our guest tonight, Matt Camper, with 93. And wrapping out the standings, yours truly, in his first appearance in his own playoffs, is myself with a whopping 65 points. So, yeah, got some work to do if we're going to make it in this thing. So we'll see what happens this week. Sir, are you ready to make some picks?
Yes, I am ready, Brandon.
All right, Lap Traffic Fantasy players, we are headed to Richmond, where Alex Bowman picked up the win in the spring. While Chevy and Ford have the last two wins at the track, it really has been Toyota's playground. In the last 6 races, they have 4 wins, 3 second-place finishes, 2 third-place finishes, 1 fourth-place finish, and 2 fifth-place finishes, good for 4 wins and a total of 12 top-5 finishes in the last 6 races for Toyota. Can Kyle Busch rebound? Can the 11 repeat? Can the 20 find some salvation? And can the 19 get back to victory lane? Or will Chevy and Ford have something to say about it? We'll find out this weekend. But first, it is time for our picks. Matt, we'll start with you. Who do you have for the Xfinity Series?
I have Harrison Burton, who has had really good consistency since New Hampshire.
Excellent. I love it. All right. I am going to go with the safe pick for the Xfinity Series. I am going to go with Austin Cindric. Sir, for the Cup Series, who do you got?
I got someone who actually has won at Richmond back in 2019, has some consistency since then. That's Martin Truex Jr., who is the favorite going into Richmond.
Yes, he does. All right. I'm going to break away from the trend of Toyota. I'm looking forward. I am going to go with someone that's had a couple top 5 finishes as well these last few races at Richmond. I'm going to go with Joey Logano, assuming not many are going to take him and knowing I need to make up some points. So I'm going with the 22 Logano this weekend.
And I was very close to picking Logano myself, but then once the odds came out, I looked and I was like, the top odds based on the top 5 from last year was Martin Truex, and I was like, let me just go with him instead. Glad I didn't go the same thing as we did at New Hampshire.
That's right. I love it. All right, man. Thank you so much for calling in. Good luck this weekend, and we'll talk to you soon, Matt.
Thank you, Brandon. Good luck to you, too, as well.
Thanks. We'll see you.
Take care.
Bye. All right, Lap Traffic Nation, that is going to do it for episode 256 of Lap Traffic Podcast. Make sure you check out their website, thelaptrafficpodcast.com, Facebook, The Lap Traffic Podcast, TikTok, Twitch, Instagram, Twitter, all at Lap Traffic PC. Huge thanks to Brian Neudorff and Matt Camper for calling in, and hopefully we'll have somebody for next week. Don't get caught chasing the lucky dog. Make sure you tune in each and every week to the Lap Traffic Podcast. See ya.